Welcome, it is I am him, the evil conservative. And you hear it, don't you, neocons and liberals? It's the bell and it's tolling for you. You've gotten a lot dirtier since the last time I was on the air. Mainly with each other, as usual, because you're too busy playing the two-party paradigm and saying to hell with the common man, or to heck with the common man, the American people. Well, we're going to call you out on that today. We're going to call out a lot of things today. We're going to call it is what it is, and it was what it was, and it will be what it will be. But before we do that, whoops! Oh my gosh! Anyways, we'll get into that in just a minute here. That's something else for another moment. What we're talking about right now is we're talking about what's going on with the American people. You know, there's been this thing called the nuclear option that's come out just this past week with the Senate, and it's the Senate Democrats who basically want to make sure that they can go ahead and put in whoever they want as far as a judicial candidate or that kind of candidate, or in their, I like to call it the alphabet soup, the EPA, NSA, CIA, FBI, all the IAs and BIs and all the other stuff, the bureaucracy that is our federal government. They want to be able to just put their person in there no matter who. And both parties have been guilty of it because way back, let's see, I believe it was, it was 90 something. There was a young senator who, when the Republicans, that's why I said both parties are guilty of it, wanted to do the same thing. This guy named Barack Obama, yeah, that's right. The current president of the United States made a comment about the idea of doing this, of having the nuclear option for the Republicans back in the time. I want to play this for you real quick. It's actually, and because I always hear people say, well, you just say this, you can't back it up. Well, you know what? In this case, here is straight from the horse's mouth. It's Barack Obama himself, folks, talking about the nuclear option back when the Republicans were trying to have it. Can you hear it?
You need the bullet.
Let me,
The speaker. Bullet.
yeah, I don't have it.
Speakers.
Let me just go over what he's saying real quick. I'm going to play it again. I know it's real soft. But what he's saying, and I'll replay it. I'll talk while he's talking to make it, to
Iterate.
yeah. The right of free and open debate is taken away from the minority party. It affects Americans who've asked us to be their voice in the Senate. And it'll get to a point, and stopped there, it says it'll get to the point where nobody will agree on anything, and nothing will be able to be accomplished in the Senate, which is where we're going to head right now if they do this nuclear option that they were so against back when Barry was a senator. But that's just part of the fun that's going on, folks. Let me tell you, there's this stuff called, what's it called? The Affordable Care Act. It's also called Obamacare. What I refer to it as is something like that. Oh, it's affordable. It's going to be so wonderful. Yeah, it's going to be so wonderful. You're going to be able to afford just about... Yeah, you'll be able to afford a laugh. That's about it. Because I tell you, that the only thing affordable that's going to come out of it is the insurance companies are going to get richer. The government's going to... I actually, the government's already had to stop. Speaking of stop, we'll stop the laugh there. The government has already had to stop production, if you will, of the Affordable Care Act. They've had to redo it, or are trying to redo it, because they realized how they screwed up. You see, they promised that you're going to be able to keep your insurance that you have. Like I have my insurance. My insurance happens to cover me and the wonderful camera lady. Say hello, wonderful camera lady.
Hello.
And, it gives us our insurance that we need. Well, our costs have gone up this year because of the Affordable Care Act. And basically what it's done is, the Affordable Care Act, is you have over 200-something million Americans in America. The Affordable Care Act is going to help about 10 million Americans be able to afford health care that don't have it this year. The other 210 million, or however many ever million, are going to pay the difference so that they can afford health insurance. That to me does not sound like what the forefathers wanted. It doesn't sound like fair to me. It sounds like we're footing the bill for people that either aren't on the grid or haven't been on the grid, and basically they're being rewarded through what we do, and I don't think that's right. I think we should have a free market, a true free market. And when I say a true free market, I agree with someone named Judge Napolitano. He was asked about this Affordable Care Act and that kind of thing, and that's why I play video clips from other people, not just me, because even though I do know a lot, I don't know everything. And these people, well, they don't know everything either, but they make some pretty good points and arguments that can't be denied. Well, they can be denied. You can live in denial, which a lot of you do, you liberals and neocons, you. But some of us don't live it anymore. We've seen this thing called truth, and we're going by the truth. That's why I believe in free market and free society in America. Judge Napolitano makes a nice comment here, and I know it's Fox News, and we're not all fans of Fox News. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but I like the judge. I like Judge Napolitano, and I like John Stossel. Those are the only two that I really do like on Fox News. The ones I don't like, I love it when the judge and other people go up against them and, for lack of a better term a new one. In this case, it's a guy named Juan Wayne. I don't know if the audio will be that good on this one either. I'm going to go ahead and try and turn up the volume before I start playing it so it doesn't sound like...
Okay.
Or that you can't hear what's going on. Or if worse comes to worse, we may have the lovely camera woman come up closer so she can get the audio closer. But we'll see what happens. Let's give it a rip here. This is Judge Napolitano on Fox News. I do not own the copyright.
I think this is really important. The president touched on this yesterday when he was talking at the Wall Street Journal Forum. They're going to rebrand and re-roll out Obamacare at some point because he says the political opposition is so large. What he's got to do is rebuild trust. You see this in the polls that indicate there's been a tremendous drop in trust in President Obama and confidence in this healthcare system. So he's got to do a big job of rebuilding that trust. Okay, lay it on, Judge. Fasten your seat.
Okay, now, as far as the term of trust and the president, do we trust the president now?
No.
There we go. Perfect timing. Trust the president. Yeah. Here's Judge Napolitano's response. Uh-oh, hold on.
The Constitution does not authorize the federal government to have anything whatsoever to do with health care. So Obamacare should be abolished along with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but the people who are
Hold on
on
just a
those
second,
programs
folks. Let
should
me
be...
go back to this again.
Okay, we don't.
Judge Napolitano here.
The Constitution does not authorize the federal government to have anything whatsoever to do with health care.
The Constitution
so
does
Obamacare
not.
should be abolished along with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but the people who are on those programs should be grandfathered in because they paid money to be in there and they've ordered their lives to stay there. The states should regulate health care.
I'm going to pause it for just a second. He not only states that we should end Obamacare, because the Constitution does not say, this says the government is not responsible for the health care of the people. We should also end Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and everything else. Now, having said that, he's not saying that all you 60 and 50 and however many year olds that are either getting it now or are dependent on it should not be taken off. You should not be taken off of it. You should be grandfathered in. That's what grandfathered in means. It means that the people that are currently on Social Security that need it for whatever reason should stay on it, but people like me and my wife and other people who've paid into this scam have all this
And
money
continue.
sitting there that we're never gonna see a dime of.
Yep.
We should get our money back and be able to spend it,
Invest it.
invest it however we want.
Yeah.
Invest it in in our future, in our retirement.
It's the biggest
that kind
scam that's being run in
Exactly,
the
and
United
that's what Judge
States.
Napolitano was saying. And it's funny, watch the reaction, listen to the reaction.
Constitution. So if you want mandatory health care, go live in Massachusetts. If you want the free market and you want individual savings accounts, financial money savings accounts, go live in Texas. As Uncle Ronnie used to say, you can vote with your feet. When the government attempts to do what only the free market can do, when the government says everybody's got to drive a Mercedes, whether you can afford one or not, whether you want to drive one or not, very few people will have cars and everybody will have cars.
And before they go into it, just state this: one of the other big scams in our lifetime since I was a teenager is car insurance, mandatory car insurance across the country. If you have a new car like I have, and you're paying for it, guess what? You're got car insurance that you're paying. Huh. You can't go on limited liability. You have to have full coverage, and it ain't cheap. Let me tell you, brother. I can tell you, testify, and I'm sure some of you out there can testify to that as well. That's your government. That's what happens when your government sticks its nose into free market. That's why they need to keep their nose out of the health insurance. I mean, is it great right now? No. You're right. There are 10, 11 million people that aren't covered. That's correct. But if you put a free market society, a free market approach into it, it's going to make those 10 or 11 million be able to afford it. Just my own thoughts. But now, listen to the reaction of these experts. These are people I call neocons. They claim to be conservatives, but when you talk about not spending money, watch what happens.
Ask, you mean to say that you want to do away with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Absolutely, because the Constitution doesn't authorize it. It would be far better administered by the states. Did you hear what Brett Baer said about the politics? You think that you can do away with Social Security and Medicare in this country? I don't think it could be done with a stroke of a pen, and I don't think there's a consensus for it. But in
Right.
my world, where the government lives within the confines of the Constitution,
In a world where the government lives within the confines of the Constitution. Wow. There's
Wording.
an old song by John Lennon called Imagine. Imagine if we had a government that lived within the confines of the Constitution, where not necessarily the federal government was in charge of the health care and that kind of thing, but your states had more control as well.
people are responsible for themselves. It's not the Beltway world where you live. People don't look to the fact.
Oh, wait, that's right. We don't live in the Beltway, do we, hon?
Mm-mm.
The Beltway is Washington, D.C., for those that aren't aware. In the Beltway, you basically get away with anything. You make up money out of air and get to do whatever the hell you want to do, basically. Now, here in the real world, if I don't pay my bills, guess what? They come and take my stuff. If I don't pay my rent, I don't live here anymore. If I don't pay for my car gets taken away. That's what he means by the real world. That's where we're at right now.
And they're going to take care of it. I think the voters would go crazy. The two of you have abandoned the whole notion of conservatism tonight. You have abandoned the notion that the Constitution means what it says.
Aha. Touche, Juan Williams. Conservatism is about letting the states have control, having more authority, having more power, taking power away from the federal government, from Big Brother. We don't need Big Brother. We don't need to suck at their teat, as they say, and live off of Big Brother. Now, having said that, as I said before, and it was said here earlier, if we let the people who are already on Social Security and Medicaid and whatever be able to stay on there, that would be fine. Okay? But as far as people like me and my wife, people in our generation who are never going to see a dime of it, we deserve the right to have our own independent accounts that we can use for health insurance, for life insurance, and for our retirement. That's just my own opinion. But to me, the Affordable Care Act, just a total farce as far as I'm concerned. The best way to describe it is probably the way I've been describing it by mistake here when I've been hitting this button. That's the Affordable Care Act, folks. It makes you laugh so hard you want to cry. But yeah, pretty much that's what we're dealing with the Affordable Care Act. Now, as far as, what else were we talking about today, hon? We were talking about the Affordable Care Act. We talked about the nuclear option. We talked about that.
The falling dollar.
Yes, that's the one I was going to talk about too, the dollar. Story I saw that didn't really quite make the papers, didn't even make the headlines. China, our good buddies China. And you know, whenever you go to the dollar store, Walmart, or one of these places, and you think, man, these products are cool and they only cost $1, how does that happen? Well, 9 times out of 10, if you look at the bottom of the label, it says it's made in China.
Yeah.
China has gorged itself on our market.
Mhm.
They have taken advantage of us. You named the term, you can use it for what they've done to us, basically, and we've allowed it to happen. Well, guess what, folks? China has decided to stop stockpiling foreign currency.
What does that mean?
So what that means is, and I'm just reading this from an article, it says the Central Bank of China has decided it is no longer in China's favor to accumulate foreign exchange reserves. In other words, they can't hold money like American dollars or British pounds or that kind of thing. During the third quarter of 2013, China's foreign exchange reserves were valued at approximately, get this, $3.66 trillion. And of course, the biggest chunk of that was made up of US dollars. For years, China has been accumulating dollars and working hard to keep the value of the dollar up and the value of the yuan down, which is their currency. One of the goals has been to make Chinese products less expensive in the international marketplace. But now, because they've taken over the marketplace so much and they own the trade market, now they've changed over. One of the goals has made Chinese products less expensive. But now China has announced that the time has come for it to stop stockpiling US dollars. And if that does indeed turn out to be the case, many US analysts are suggesting that China could also soon stop buying any more US debt.
What does that mean?
Needless to say, all of this would be very bad for the United States. That's what it means. Right now, the biggest buyer of our debts, as far as America, there's two. There's China and the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is making money out of thin air. And they're just buying debt like it's candy. China has been buying debt as well. But if they stop buying debt, what's to stop the Federal Reserve from stop buying debt as well? Because technically, in December, the contract that the Federal Reserve has with the government ends.
Yeah.
So they could just stop buying debt right there. Well, guess what, folks? If they stop buying our debt, China stops buying our debt. Yeah, you thought the crash of 1920 was bad? You thought the depression of the 1930s was bad? You ain't seen nothing yet, kids. It'll hit the fan like you won't believe. And let me tell you something, it's not going to be the Republicans' fault. It's not going to be the Democrats' fault. It's going to be both their damn faults. And it's going to be our fault for letting them sell us down the river. We got too many people getting screwed by both parties while they're playing government. Well, this is what's happening while they're playing government. China's getting sick of it. Other countries are getting sick of it.
American people's getting sick of it.
Yeah, American
Sick
people are
of
getting
it.
sick of it. Exactly. And that's why I encourage people to vote for third parties, to vote for different people. Maybe not at the federal level right now, but at your local level. You know, if you have someone running for city council or mayor, not that I've been asked, but I've thought about it, or other offices, vote for the third party candidate, vote for the libertarian, vote for the independent. Hell, vote for the person that's not involved, affiliated with the party. Do it just to make a statement to America. You know, do it at the state level. Oh my gosh, this local area, and I mentioned this on my Facebook page earlier, I'm going to mention it again today. Herb Snyder and whoever the other idiot is that's a state representative, we got to get those idiots out of office. Their response to how things should run, they're going to follow Washington, D.C.'s lead. Really, Herb? Really? That's your approach? Follow Washington, D.C.'s lead? Have you not seen what's going on? We're going to hell in a handbasket, and you're going to follow the idiots that are driving you there? Talk about sheep. We need to get the sheep out of office and get some shepherds in there that are going to bust some heads and shake some people up and make things happen. Now, I'm not saying that's me, at least not right now. Although there is at one point I did think about running for Senate, but I believe, and I'm going to make an endorsement here, even though I didn't plan on doing this until just now. A guy named Pat McGeehan, he's not libertarian, although I am. I think he is the best viable option. He is not your typical neocon, rhino Republican. He's a liberty-minded Republican, and he really is liberty-minded. There's a big difference. He believes in the Constitution, being constitutionally sound, and I believe things like this that we just saw, as far as trimming down big government, getting rid of some of that big government, is what we need for America. And we need people like Pat McGeehan, Justin Amash, people that are in the House and the Senate that want that kind of stuff cut back. You know, Justin Amash is not in West Virginia, he's in Michigan, but he is a good example of someone who is a liberty-minded, I'll say non-rhino. He's a Republican, but not a rhino. But I also believe that there is a third party that needs to come about and rise, the Libertarian Party, and I have already started to put together an idea. Well, I think the best, people are going to look at me and think I'm nuts, but I was watching a gentleman that's thinking about running for president. His idea is not to run on a party. His idea is if he did run with a party, that they would help him get on the ballot in 50 states, but they would not make him use their name. He could run as an independent. That gentleman's name is Jesse Ventura. Now, some of you are probably spitting out your coffee or swallowing it hard, going, what did you say? What other options do we have? Well, let's see. A lot of people like Rand Paul. Rand Paul, he's not too bad. He did sell his dad out, though. Anybody that sells their dad out, I got a problem with. Sorry, Rand. And then we got, let's see, Chris Christie, Stay Puft Marshmallow Boy. Yeah, he's really big and fat. He's got a big mouth, and he's pretty much, that's about it. He's a neocon. Got no use for him. He can stay in New Jersey. Sorry. Me and the camera person disagree about Chris Christie, I can see.
Well, they did an interview with him, and he's very upfront, and he's pretty much a bull. He doesn't like the Tea Party.
I know.
So
like me. He doesn't like liberty-minded people. He doesn't like liberty. He likes to stay in the government. He's a rhino, what I call a Republican in name.
okay.
He's a neocon. What he wants, hon, is he wants to have big government, but he wants to pretend like it's small. He wants to tell you that we need small government, we need to make cuts, and then he'll turn around and blow up the budget. See, Republicans, their side, they tell you they want to control the budget and keep it tight, and then they turn around and spend so much money on military spending that it's ridiculous. We have no need for these wars or these conflicts that are going on. Now, I know I'm running short on time, so the next edition will be more involved in the candidates in 2016. Democrats, Hillary Clinton, that's all I should have to say. Benghazi. Look up Benghazi. Look at how many people she got killed there. You want that running our country?
No.
Oh, I can't even say it. Oh, heck no. Anyways, I'll make it short and sweet from this point on. That's Tim Carpenter. I am the evil conservative. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am an American. We need to be Americans first. Party second. I hope that's what we start doing in America. I hope we start waking up. And I hope that you know that it is tolling for you. And when I say you, well, you should know who you are. You probably don't if you've never watched this show, but if you have, and you're a neocon, or a rhino, or a liberal, someone who's against America and the Constitution, you are who the bell tolls for. West Virginia, it's time to wake up and get the trash out of office. If no one else will stand up and fight against them, my hat just got thrown in the ring. I'll fight against them because I've been sick for a while, but I'm healthy now. It's been a while since I've been in a good fight. Herb Snyder, you other stupid scumbags, you want to destroy my state? Bring it in close, camera person. Come get some. If you dare. evil conservative Tim Carpenter. Out.